Our next speaker, Pat Bond, is the COO with Gravity. And on the committee, we believe that a speaker from a service company such as Gravity represents an extremely important part of this operation, and we are very honored to welcome Pat Bond.
Well, I'm truly honored and pleased to be up here. Thank you very much for having me. So many notables, so many people introduced last night. It was a wonderful night. With everybody in the room, I can tell you, though, nobody's more interested how this talk's going to go than I am. So we'll figure out that in a minute. Speaking of last night, what a wonderful event. What a great networking event. Met a lot of the candidates, met the policymakers. Great speakers. I'm going to quote Clay Gaspar quite a bit tonight. I'm going to shamelessly plagiarize him. But my good friend and neighbor, Sonny Throckmorton, he was awesome. I think if anybody listened to him, he was fantastic. He literally lives 200 yards from me, and I have to travel 500 miles to get to see him. So it's kind of interesting to see him last night. So as he mentioned, I'm the only oilfield service company to speak up here today. That's a big responsibility because we are a big part of what's happening in the field. And so I'm going to talk about Gravity, but I won't obviously represent the entire energy service community. But what does energy service companies do? And so just to level set, we're kind of like a subcontractor to the general contractors. The general contractors being the E&P companies, and the service companies supplying a lot of the work, the heavy equipment that comes to location to drill wells and to build facilities and so forth. And so for that reason, energy service companies put a lot of miles on the road, a lot of man hours, employ a lot of people. We understand that we are part of the good stress that Clay talked about last night. So we also need to be a part of some of the solutions that we could come up with to help relieve some of that good stress. And so the goal of this talk today is going to be a little bit about, of course, who we are, what we do, but what we're doing to engage in the business and the industry and the communities, and then to ask a question, kind of an open-ended question at the end. What else could we do? What more can we do? And I think you're going to hear today a lot of the things that I'll say have been mirrored, or I will mirror what Don just said, and because, you know, we're working in this thing together. Next slide. So, kind of hard to see them, but first I want to offer a little perspective before I get into the agenda. You know, yesterday I was driving here from Eunice, and when you look out over the highway to the right, I swear you could see your dog run away for 3 or 4 days. It was just a phenomenal vista as you look out. It was beautiful. But it reminded me of sort of the geology of the area. Clay talked about it last night. I mean, 300 million to 400 million years ago, plus or minus 100 million years, you could have bought oceanfront property here. And so, and that ocean was pretty kind to this area. It laid down a lot of sediments and minerals that we're harvesting today. And Clay talked about 9,000 foot intervals in some parts of this area that are going to be drilled for many, many, many years. And so it is a resource that is providing to mankind in a lot of ways, and I think it's worthwhile to talk about some things that touch us, not just in the way we fuel our vehicles, but also in the way that how we feed 7 billion people in the world. Oil and gas plays a huge part in growing and harvesting and fertilizing and refrigerating and bringing food to the world. Hospitals, my in-laws have been in the hospitals a lot this year, unfortunately. But if you look in a hospital, there's almost nothing you can't see in a hospital from diagnostic systems and consumables and medicines that aren't touched by oil and gas and petrochemicals. The phones that we use, the materials, the satellites, the communication, the network doesn't happen without oil and gas. And I mean, I could go on, but in renewables, I also passed a solar panel farm outside of Eunice. Wonderful way. We certainly ought to embrace renewable energy. We are embracing it. You see wind farms everywhere, solar farms everywhere. You cannot build a wind turbine or a solar panel without this resource that we're harvesting and talking about here today. So I thought I would just bring that up and say, this is quite a gift that we're given, and we need to do it right. So let me get into the agenda for what I want to talk about. I want to talk about our history. It's a little bit of commercial, naturally. We're going to have a commercial about our company, what we do, where we do it, what are the challenges we see. They're all the same challenges everybody sees, but what are we doing to engage and try to address some of those challenges? And then, again, the open-ended question, what else can we do? And I was talking to somebody earlier here today from the school board, and he already had a lot of things that I could do extra. So it's an open-ended question that I'm afraid to ask, but because I know what the answer is going to be. Sorry for the feedback here. So Gravity is a new name in the business, but the companies that make up Gravity Oilfield Services have been around for 24 years. Light Tower Rentals and LTR started in Odessa in 1994 with 8 light towers. We opened up in New Mexico in 1999. Going to be here for a long time, but the way it sounds. Globe Energy Services started in Snyder, Texas in 2004 with 1 vacuum truck, and they expanded rapidly. And then in March of 2017, so a little more than 18 months ago, we merged the 2 companies together and renamed our company Gravity Oilfield Services. That's a little bit of history of who it is that we are. And now what is it that we do? We think of our company in 3 different segments: water solutions and infrastructure, power generation and rental equipment, and wellbore solutions. So we all know water is a big deal. It's a big resource, and we're managing water. We're helping our clients manage water by sourcing it and water logistics, disposing of it, reuse of it. So we have a segment called Water Solutions Infrastructure. Another segment, Power Equipment and Rental Solutions. You'll see out front a natural gas generator and light tower and some of the things that are in that segment. We have the largest privately held oil field service power rental equipment, power generation equipment in the industry. And then also in our wellbore group, we have a production chemical company known as Tech Management, and we also have a fishing and rental division and a completion tool division. So that's a little bit about Gravity. And I want to talk about the life cycle. The next slide is, of course, all of those products and services go through the life cycle of the well. I'm going to breeze through some of this because this is not a commercial about Gravity. I just wanted to level set who we are, what we do, and now where we do it. And so the map of the U.S., I hope, is showing up right now. And you can see that Gravity Oilfield Services works across the U.S. in every basin: Bakken, DJ, Marcellus, Scoop Stack, Eagle Ford, Haynesville. But you can see the concentration in the Permian. And our clients are represented up there, and most of them are in the room today. And by the way, all you clients that are listed up there, thank you for your business. And hopefully we can keep that up and get more of it. Somebody always says, how's business? I say, great, but I need more. So we're across the U.S., but what it shows in there is how concentrated we are in the Permian. The next slide shows that in the Permian Basin alone, and the reason I talk about these things is I want to talk about the amount of miles and man hours driven, the vehicles and employees that service companies do. Gravity alone, we put 900 people to work in the Permian. We have over 1,000 trucks. Yeah, we got more trucks than we have people. So if you want a driving job, please see me after the talk here, and we'll put you to work. I'm sure everybody in here could say something like that they have openings that need to be filled. And that's part of the stress, the good stress in this business that we're seeing, that we're trying to do right. So those 900 people put 20 million miles on Permian roads alone in Gravity, and 2.5 million hours worked. So a tremendous amount of employee base, a lot of miles driven, a lot of vehicles on the road, which is why I really embrace meetings like this and being able to talk to you guys and the policymakers and all of our clients and people and partners, because we need to be a part of the conversation when it comes to how can we do this right. And drilling down even further into New Mexico, we have 3 locations. We employ 230 people. We put over 500,000 hours worked, and we drive over 4 million miles on New Mexico roads alone. I'm pleased to see the safety initiative, the road safety initiative. I got some information from them in their booth back here. I guarantee you we will be a part of this conversation on how to relieve some of the stress in this area. And I know I talked to some policymakers last night that are trying really hard to get funding for the roads and infrastructure here. Obviously, we applaud that. It's our duty to put safe equipment out on the road and drive safely. Which brings me to the next slide, which is, what are the problems we're seeing? And this is a little bit, now everybody's saying this, so I'm going to say it again. Here's the things that we see inside our company, infrastructure. You bring this many people out here, housing and roads are a problem that we see. And I'm going to talk a little bit, this is the only slide to talk about the problems. The next slides are going to talk about what is our solution to it? What are we doing to help eliminate some of this stuff? And like I said, the open-ended question at the end is what more can we do? Infrastructure, safety concerns. We put a lot of big trucks on the road. One of the things that gets me the most as a leader of a company is road safety. I mean, it's just imperative that we operate and put fit-for-purpose equipment and people on the roads. Labor. I talked about truck drivers earlier. Obviously, we need them, but we need management. We need mechanics in the worst way. We need skilled labor in these areas. We need technicians. We need a lot of people. That's a good problem to have. Clay talked about it last night. These are good problems, but nevertheless, there are some problems we need to address. And then the regulatory compliance is absolute must. You know, the DOT regs, EPA, OSHA, everything else that's out there. Good regulations make us a better company. So I'm going to breeze through some of these because I'm sure a lot of people are doing this stuff, but infrastructure and housing, we're trying to take housing into our own hands. We've got, and you see pictured there, some of the housing we have in one of our locations. And you need, if you're going to ask people to come out and work, especially if you're recruiting across the nation, you need a place for them to live. Even if it's temporary, it needs to be clean and nice and safe. And so we're putting these things out there. It's just one way that we're trying to address, you know, some of the housing infrastructure. There's more people here than we have houses. We got RV parks, we got man camps, apartments, houses, but in a lot of situations, we're trying to take these things on ourselves. The next one is the road situation. We put a lot of trucks out there. The things that we're doing inside, what I'm talking about in these next few slides, these are things that Gravity, and not just Gravity, but the entire oilfield service segment are doing to help in these regards. So certainly we have daily safety road meetings. We talk about it before the guys get on the road. Here's construction in this area. Here's what's happening. There's been a major wreck in a certain area. Avoid that, do this, do that. And we talk about roads before they even get out. You have to have planning pre-journey trips. We have GPS on all of our vehicles. I'm sure a lot of people can say that. We do daily inspections and monthly inspections by supervisors. We have real-time driver status reports, and so we can understand what drivers are doing real-time rather than waiting for an MVR report to come out 6 months down the road. So there's just some of the things that we're trying to do to make sure our fleet and our people are fit for purpose when they get out onto the roads. We owe it to ourselves and the people that drive around our vehicles to make sure that we're safe. And again, I look forward to visiting with on the safety initiative, the people out front. I took your information. I promise we're going to be inside of some of your meetings. Secondly, pardon me, some of the other things we're doing on a safety standpoint is the iPhones. We give everybody in our staff iPhones so they can have with them electronic means, not just standard operating procedures for every piece of equipment, which in both Spanish and English, which they can have at the touch of an iPhone to double check how to work on a piece of equipment, but also to run their job safety awareness meetings that they have before every installation. But also part of our safety culture is we have on these phones near-miss applications, observations, facility inspections. If you catch people doing things right, it's good to put it in your phone and upload it to our database where we can talk about it. Conversely, if you see things that be improved on, we want to talk about that as well. If you see a near-miss, those are key. Those are key to us avoiding a major catastrophe. And so safety starts with rigorous training at the very beginning, but it's constantly driven by having access to technology and being able to talk about observations and working safely out on location and having information at the fingertouch of everybody's hands. On the workforce side, I want to talk a little bit more about this on the next slide when I talk about industry associations, but being across the U.S., we're recruiting from everywhere. We're trying to talk people, unemployed mechanics that are in the Midwest, to come to Pecos and work, and we give them a place to live, and they can work 2 weeks on and 2 weeks off. Believe it or not, some people would rather be unemployed in the Midwest than come to work in Pecos. I don't understand that, but these are good, high-paying jobs, and this is what we're offering our people to do. This is how we're recruiting. We're doing our best to not only bring in, to train, to offer housing, competitive wage, all those things that we're trying to get accomplished in here. And we understand that this is a stress that's going to go on for a while because there's a lot of work out here and a lot of things that need to be done. And I applaud the conversation that we're having around here to attract people to this area. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that when I get into the next slide, which is this is another way Gravity is working, by working with industry associations. So the other slides, we're talking about our internal processes, you know, how we hire, how we train, our safety and our roads and this. But we believe greatly in being a part of things like New Mexico Oil and Gas Association. I spoke to Ryan Flynn last night. I assume he's here somewhere, but it's good to be a part of the New Mexico Oil and Gas Association. They're a good voice for the industry into New Mexico. Very proud to be a part of that. Also on the board of the Permian Basin Petroleum Association, which is another advocacy for the oil and gas business in the Permian, both in Texas and working with NMOGA in New Mexico. But again, as the only service company representative up here, I want to spend just a little bit of time on an industry association you may or may not have heard of. We call PESA, which is Petroleum Equipment and Services Association. Now, this is an association really set up for energy service companies. And if you're an energy service company in this room and you're not a part of PESA, I would love to talk to you about how this organization is doing wonderful work for our industry and for our part of the chain into the energy business. And let me expand a little bit more. The next slide on some of the things that PESA is doing, particularly around the workforce. And boom, that's really bugging me there. Probably bugging the heck out of you guys. PESA is tackling the workforce issue from the grassroots level. So in other words, we're trying to take the fight, if you will, for oil and gas workers to grade school levels, if you will. And I'll expand. I could talk about this slide for a long time, but I know that there's a hook around here somewhere wanting to pull me off in a minute. But Petroleum Equipment Service Association teamed up with IPAA, Independent Producers Association of America, to form the Petroleum Academies. There's 5 Petroleum Academies right now, 4 in Houston and 1 in Fort Worth. We've had conversations about bringing a Petroleum Academy into Midland or other places. My conversation with you, my open question to you guys later is going to be, what else can PESA do in this area? But to date, the Petroleum Academies that are in high schools, 4 high schools in Houston and 1 in Fort Worth, have graduated 2,900 graduates. There's 1,500 students enrolled right now. A lot of 41% of those are female. A lot of the graduates come out of here, they immediately get scholarships from universities, because to get into the Petroleum Academy, you have to demonstrate a willingness and an aptitude for STEM. And once you get in there, you're exposed to STEM projects and oil and gas and all kinds of energy, not just oil and gas, but renewable and everything else. And so there's a lot of kids that come out of the Petroleum Academies. It's their first time in their generation, first time in their family to go to college. These are phenomenal academies that we're very proud to support. And I don't think I can talk enough about them. What else? 900,000 in scholarships so far, 642 student oil and gas externships. The next thing on the slide was the Middle School STEM Career Initiative. So we were talking about this a little earlier. If you talk to kids when they're younger, 3 to 5 year grades 3 to 5 or even 6 to 9, before they get in high school, and you have a STEM initiative and you talk about science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and you get a young person understanding how those skills relate to their everyday life. You can't talk about, you know, E equals MC squared to these kids. You got to talk about the rockets that Don showed up there a little earlier. You got to put it in real life form, make it fun, and then all of a sudden there's an aptitude and a want to be in STEM programs. STEM jobs are going to grow at a 50% higher rate than non-STEM jobs over the next few years. We need more kids that are interested in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. In the energy business, both in the service side, the EMP side, we have to have this skilled labor. And we're trying to do this and get people interested in it early on and get them thinking about it. So when they enter high school, they have an aptitude for STEM. Because once they're in high school, if they don't already think STEM is pretty cool, they're probably not going to get into it. So these are some of the initiatives that PISA is bringing in. Also working with, this is a big acronym, NSBE SEEK program. This is the National Society of Black Engineers. This is a way to get African Americans in their communities and underserved communities interested in STEM projects, and also reach out and do some outreach so they can make a difference in their community and make them advocates not just for STEM but for the oil and gas business. And then finally, some of the other things that we do, once you do all that, then you got some college graduates at Rice, and we're doing an outreach program to Rice, which is a very talented and respected university, and we're making those kids interns, and then they become advocates for the oil and gas industry and want to come to work for the oil and gas industry, changing the mindset of some of the kids that are out there that may or may not have thought of oil and gas as a vocation. So let me get to the end. Okay, here's another. The next slide is talking about other ways that we engage. So the last few slides have been, okay, we have internal processes. We're engaging in industry associations like PISA. Other ways that we're engaging at Gravity and other people are doing as well is community involvement. I'm a big believer in engagement and community involvement, like things like this, but you can see up there, blood drives, food drives, United Ways. Obviously this initiative that found out about outside. We're big on this, and these are things that we're doing and we're going to continue to do, and we're very proud of being a part of our community. We cannot work in a community without being a good community partner. Okay, so in conclusion, what is it we're doing? Besides providing awesome service for our clients, again, thank you, scale of operations, we have internal processes that we're doing to face some of these initiatives. We also are engaging in industry associations and community engagement. These are things that we are doing today. And so now I end with this open-ended question, and one that I may or may not regret, which is, what else can we be doing? What other associations are out there that we could be a part of, not just us, but any other oilfield service company? What are the industry best practices that we could be doing and sharing? What are the industry roundtables? What local government involvement can we have? And last but not least, you can tell I'm a little bit excited and biased towards the PISA, Petroleum Equipment and Services Association. What of those programs that you just heard of for the first time today should we bring to New Mexico and help in our education of our young people and everything? So thank you very much for your time.
Hey, thanks, Pat. Appreciate it. Great information on behalf of the committee. Thank you for coming and talking to us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.